During this week in Pokemon Go, we are going to be getting an in-game event featuring some new Pokemon, and I'm really excited about this week because some of the content is actually quite underrated, and I'm going to be talking about all of that in today's video. Alright, what's happening everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. So today we're going to be talking about everything that's going to be going on in Pokemon Go during this week. This is going to be the first week of November, which means we're going to have a whole bunch of different content that you will want to pay attention to. First and foremost, we're going to be getting an in-game event featuring some brand new Pokemon, and this is the Enchanted Hollow event. And I think for a lot of people, they are kind of ignoring this event, mainly because it's not necessarily that impactful, but I actually think there's a couple of goodies with this event that could have some really solid gameplay implications. And on top of that, Niantic is going to be trying out something new. So I do think this is something that you will want to look into. And yeah, because of that, let's talk about that first. The Enchanted Hollow event is going to be starting on November 4th at 10 o'clock a.m. local time, and it's going to go until November 9th at 8 o'clock p.m. local time. The featured Pokemon for this event is going to be two new Pokemon. It's going to be Tarantula as well as Spidops. These are very interesting Pokemon. They're kind of spy themed and they're all spiders. I think they're really cool in my opinion. Now, in order to get Spidops, you just need to have 50 Tarantula candy and you're going to be able to evolve it into Spidops. So if you want these new Pokemon, just keep that in mind. Now, during this event, we're going to have the following event bonuses. You're going to get double the amount of experience for spinning Pokestops. That's actually pretty key, considering that we're all trying to level up to level 80 right now. And then you're going to have double the duration for lure modules, and then you're going to have an increased chance of encountering Shiny Paris and Shiny Stantler. And then these are going to be the wild encounters during this event. You're going to see Paris, Stantler, and Nickit, and also a bunch of other spawns, which they're not necessarily revealing. But you might also encounter the new Pokemon Tarantula in the wild, and I think that's pretty cool, that it's going to be a wild spawn. Now, during this event, you're going to see certain Pokemon spawning from Mossy Lure modules. You're going to see Paris, Stantler, Cottony, Petalil, Carablast, Shelmet, as well as the new Pokemon Tarantula. And then in 1-star raids, you're going to see Paris, Stantler, and Tarantula. And then in 3-star raids, you're going to see Leavanny, as well as Scolipede and Drampa. Also, I think this is worth mentioning, but you're actually going to see some new effects in the game world where you're going to see certain areas glowing and it's going to lead you to Pokestops with a bunch of interesting spawns. So that is definitely something that I'm curious to see how it's going to pan out. And then in field research task rewards during this event, you're going to be able to encounter Paris, Stantler, Cottony, Petalil, Carablast, Shelmet, as well as Drampa. There's also going to be collection challenges, which is going to award you with experience as well as Tarantula encounters, and there's going to be a paid timed research ticket that's going to give you a Mossy Lure, 2 incense, 3 lucky eggs, and encounters with Paris, Stantler, Drampa, and Tarantula. It's going to cost $1.99 USD in the Pokeshop and web store, so if you're interested in getting this, these are the things you're going to get. So yeah, this Enchanted Hollow event is essentially the big thing that's going to be going on during this week, but I will say there's a lot of really cool stuff on the horizon for Pokemon Go, especially during this month. We are going to be getting the Wild Area event later on, but I do think there is a lot of things that you need to do in order to prepare for it, and yeah, that's why I think this week is going to be pretty good. But there's also plenty of other things, and let's get into some of the weekly content that is going to be happening during this week. Let's start this off by talking about the Dynamax content. So, starting tonight with Max Monday, which is going to be from 6 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. local time, we're going to see Inkay in Max Battles. So if you want this particular Pokemon for Dynamax Battles, then make sure you go out and do them because you will have an opportunity to get it. And then let's talk about 5-star raids, because during this week, we're actually going to get 3 legendary Pokemon that are going to be spawning in 5-star raids. They're going to be Raikou, Entei, and Suicune, and they are going to be from November 4th until November 11th. And these 3 Pokemon are quite underrated because they can be really good Pokemon for raid battles for newer players, at least until you get better Pokemon. But I will say that there are reasons why these are actually worth your raid passes, mainly because they are really good trade chips, and if you were to collect candy for them and eventually get yourself a shadow version of either Raikou or Entei, that's going to be a pretty decent raid attacker for you to use. And then then coinciding with them in Mega Evolution raids, we're going to have Mega Beedrill, Mega Pinsir, as well as Mega Heracross, and in particular, Mega Heracross is a regional Pokemon, so it's kind of a double whammy. You could get yourself a shiny Heracross, which is going to be a pretty rare regional Pokemon, and then on top of that, it is a really decent raid attacker when it comes to raid battles that require a bug type. So I would go for these 3 Pokemon. If you still do not have them, you're definitely going to miss out if you do not get Mega Heracross by the end of this week. And then moving right along for Spotlight Hour tomorrow from 6 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. local time, it's going to be featuring the Pokemon Weedle, and they're going to have a 2x transfer candy bonus. And the thing is, with this particular bonus, it's a great way for you to get some candies for legendary Pokemon that are just sitting in your storage. Make sure you be ready to transfer those legendaries so that you could pick up some extra candies. And then finally, for this Wednesday's raid hour, we are of course going to be getting one featuring the legendary beasts. That's Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. And if you want to save your raid passes throughout the week but spend a few of them during raid hour, then make sure you go out and do raid battles from 6 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. local time on Wednesday. And then for your information, for the entire month of November, we're going to have Shadow Latios and 5-star Shadow raids on the weekends. So if you want this particular Shadow legendary Pokemon, make sure you go out and do a couple of Shadow raids on the weekends with some friends. Alright, and finally, let's close this off by what's going on in PvP. So, if you are a battler, these are the leagues that you should expect during this week. Until tomorrow, this Tuesday, you're going to see the Great League as well as the Halloween Cup Great League Edition, but then afterwards, we're going to have the Open Ultra League along with the Jungle Cup Great League Edition. There is plenty of different cups for specifically the Great League, so if you have a really solid Great League team for any of these cups, then make sure you get them going because we're going to see the end of the season really soon, and you want to make sure you're at the highest rating to maximize your Stardust reward at the end of the season. Alright, and there you go. This is what's going to be going on in Pokemon Go during this week, and I will say for most Pokemon Go players, they might be taking it easy, mainly because they probably want to save up resources for the upcoming Wild Area event, and to that I totally understand, but I still think this Enchanted Hollow event is going to be pretty good, and there's going to be a lot in store. And on top of that, the weekly content is pretty good as well. Like, when it comes to the raid battles, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune, they're actually pretty decent Pokemon, and I do think that farming up candies for them is a pretty good thing, because in the future, if you were to get lucky enough to get yourself a really high IV shadow of either Entei or Raikou, you will definitely want to power them up because they're really good in raids. And just in general, the shiny forms for these 3 legendary beasts are always in high demand, so might as well raid for some of them, and I do think that's going to net you some really good trades. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's everything that's going to be going on during this weekend. I do think it's going to be exciting, but it's definitely going to get more exciting later on because we do have the Wild Area event, and that's actually going to be next week, and it's definitely something you will want to prepare for. So anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Definitely share your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about down below. Is there something during this week that you are looking forward to? Yeah, definitely share what that is in the comments, and let's have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if it's your first time here, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you know exactly when I upload videos. And real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. For all the people who are supporting my Patreon channel, they get added to my Pokemon Go friends list, so I'm always playing with them, whether it be with remote raids, the friendship system, opening and sending gifts, all that good stuff. And if you want to join them, make sure you go and check out my Patreon. I'll put a link to it in the description below. It's the best way to support my channel. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you could always do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms you see right now on the bottom of your screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow, and you'll be able to keep up with my daily life, get to know what I'm doing every single day, and you'll also get some exclusive content as well. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, have yourself a really good week, and make sure you love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.